Welcome to this video on firewall management. In this video, we will be discussing how to use iptables and firewalld for network security. We'll cover the basics of firewalls, explore how to configure them using iptables and firewalld, and share some best practices to keep your network secure. Let's start by understanding what a firewall is. A firewall is a network security device that monitors and filters incoming and outgoing network traffic based on predetermined security rules. It acts as a barrier between trusted and untrusted networks, controlling traffic based on rules and policies. Firewalls can be hardware, software, or a combination of both, and they are an essential component of network security. As you can see in the diagram, the firewall sits between the internet and your internal network, blocking malicious traffic and allowing safe traffic to pass through. Now let's explore the firewall solutions available on Linux. Two popular options are iptables and firewalld. Iptables is a traditional Linux firewall tool that directly manipulates the kernel's netfilter framework. It is a powerful and flexible rule-based system offering stateful packet filtering and is available on almost all Linux distributions. Here's an example of a basic iptables command. Iptables --a input --p tcp --d port --22 --j accept. Firewalld, on the other hand, is a modern dynamic firewall manager that provides a higher-level interface to iptables. It uses zone-based configuration, allowing for runtime and permanent configuration, and features a dbus interface for dynamic rule updates. Here's an example of a basic firewalld command. Firewall-cmd --zone equals public --add port equals 22/tcp --permanent. Let's dive into the basics of iptables. Iptables organizes firewall rules into tables, chains, and rules that determine how packets are processed. The key components include tables like filter, NAT, mangle, raw, and security. Chains such as input, output, forward, pre-routing, and post-routing. Targets including accept, drop, reject, and log. And matches based on protocol, port, address, and state. Now let's look at some common iptables commands. To list all rules, you can use the command iptables --l -v. To allow secure shell connections, you can use iptables --a input -p tcp --d port --22 -j accept. To block a specific internet protocol address, use iptables -a input -s /192.168.1.100 -j drop. To allow established connections, use iptables -a input -m state -state established related -j accept. Finally, to set a default policy, use iptables -p input drop. Let's go through some practical examples of iptables in action. First, setting up a basic web server. To allow HTTP and HTTPS traffic, use the commands iptables -a input -p tcp --d port /80 -j accept. And iptables -a input -p tcp --d port /443 -j accept. To allow secure shell, use the command iptables -a input -p tcp --d port /22 -j accept. Next, let's look at rate-limiting connections. To protect against brute force attacks by limiting connection attempts, use these commands iptables -a input -p tcp --d port /22 -m state --state new -m recent --set. Followed by iptables -a input -p tcp --d port /22 -m state --state new -m recent --update --second 60 hit count for --j drop. Now let's explore the basics of firewalld. Firewalld is a dynamic firewall manager that uses zones to define trust levels for network connections. Key concepts include zone-based configuration for different network environments, runtime and permanent configuration options, and the ability to manage services, ports, and protocols separately. Common zones include drop, block, public, work, home, and trusted. Here are some basic firewalled commands. To check the status of firewalled, use System Control Status Firewalled. To list all zones, use firewall-cmd --list-all-zones. To get the default zone, use firewall-cmd --get-default-zone. To add a service to a zone, use firewall-cmd --zone equals public --add-service equals HTTP. To add a port to a zone, use firewall-cmd --zone equals public --add-port equals 8080/TCP. To make changes permanent, use firewall-cmd --runtime to permanent. Let's look at some practical examples of using firewalled. First, configuring firewalled for a web server with HTTP, HTTPS, and secure shell access. Use the following commands: firewall-cmd --zone equals public --add-service equals HTTP --permanent. Firewall-cmd --zone equals public --add-service equals HTTPS --permanent. Firewall-cmd --zone equals public --add-service equals secure shell --permanent. And firewall-cmd --reload to apply the changes. Next, creating a custom service and setting up port forwarding. Use the following commands: firewall-cmd --permanent --new service equals my app. Firewall-cmd --permanent --service equals my app --set-description equals my custom app. Firewall-cmd --permanent --service equals my app --add-port equals 8080/TCP. And finally, firewall-cmd --add-forward-port equals 80 : proto equals TCP : 2 port equals 8080 --permanent. To ensure effective firewall management, it's essential to follow some best practices. First, security principles. Adopt a default deny policy, blocking all traffic by default and only allowing what's necessary. Apply the principle of least privilege, granting only the minimum access required. Implement defense in depth using multiple security layers. And conduct regular audits, reviewing and updating firewall rules periodically. Next, configuration tips. Document all firewall rules with clear comments. Use specific rules instead of overly broad ones. Implement rate limiting to prevent denial of service attacks. And back up firewall configurations before making changes. Now, monitoring and maintenance tips. Enable logging for blocked traffic and security events. Regularly review logs for suspicious activity. Test firewall rules after implementation. And keep firewall software updated with security patches. Finally, automation and persistence tips. Save rules to ensure they persist after reboot. Use configuration management tools like Ansible and Puppet. Create scripts for consistent rule deployment. And implement version control for firewall configurations. In summary, firewalls are essential for network security, controlling traffic based on rules. Iptables provides low-level control with tables, chains, and rules. Firewalled offers a simpler zone-based approach with dynamic configuration. Following best practices like default deny, least privilege, and defense in depth is crucial. And regular maintenance and monitoring are vital for effective security. For further resources, refer to the official Iptables and firewall documentation, which provide comprehensive guides and reference materials. Explore tools like Firewall Config, Firewall CMD, Iptables Save, and Iptables Restore for easier management. Engage with online communities such as Linux forums, Stack Exchange, and security communities for support and advanced configurations. And consult security resources like Center for Internet Security Benchmarks and National Institute of Standards and Technology Guidelines, which provide security standards for firewall configurations. Thank you. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.